Thank you so much to Jim Silkenat. It's now my great honor to introduce Abdulai Bah, who will share with us his experiences as an asylum seeker detained at a facility in New Jersey. Today, Abdulai works as a media producer and educator. He's reported for outlets including PRI, The Nation, PBS NewsHour, and WNYC. Fluent in 5 languages, he also serves as an interpreter for NGOs and law firms handling pro bono asylum cases in New York and New Jersey. Abdulai Bah, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Ruthie. And thank you so much to everyone for being here. Can you all hear me? My voice is slightly different. It's not like I'm sick or anything. It's just that I have a unique voice. And I'm actually going to share a unique story with you. I have been here since 8 o'clock, just like everyone else. And it is interesting to listen to people talk about policies, but also talk about a system we've had in this country for so many years. And I think we all agree on one thing: this system does not work. So it needs to be changed. And when we talk about change, it's not just about tweaking it. It needs to be revamped, like it needs to be replaced by something else. And so just picture for his, oops, am I okay with the microphone? Okay, so just picture for a second, I feel like the microphone is actually going on and off. Okay, so just picture for a second, back in the 90s, when I was still in my home country, which is Sierra Leone in West Africa, I'm assuming that many of you know and can definitely pinpoint Sierra Leone on the map. I'm not going to ask you because I don't want to embarrass some of you, but it has been my experience in the past that few people can actually pinpoint Sierra Leone on the map. It's a tiny country. Right now we have about 5 million people, so that's really, really tiny compared to this country. So in the 90s we had a brutal, bloody civil war going on. And I'm not going to tell you so much about that civil war and what went, during that civil war. But one thing I would like to share with you is that I personally lost family members, and obviously many other people from the same country, as well as friends and relatives. And so think for a second. You live a situation like that, right? There's killing going on. There's no control. And so you live a situation like that trying to save your life. And so you come to a country, which is the US, that we all, a lot of people know as the beacon of freedom, where everyone is free, where people's rights are respected. And so you come here as an 18-year, 19-year-old boy, not knowing really much about the world. And so anyway, so I got here back in 2000. First of all, that was my first time to ever fly. I had never flown before. And so I get here tired, sleepy, hungry, and disoriented because I have flown for so many hours from where I came from before I got to New Jersey. And so I got off this airplane, and I get to talk to ICE. Back then they were not called ICE agents, they were called INS agent. Am I correct? INS? Okay, because it feels like it's been so many years. And so anyway, so I come in and I was asked, why was I visiting this country? I told them, no, I'm actually not visiting. I'm fleeing a bloody civil war, and I'm looking for a safe haven. And so they were like, okay, cool. Do you have family members here? I was like, I do have relatives. And so they were like, okay, cool. So we'll take you through a process. Again, I'm not making this language up. They said, we'll take you through a process, in order for you to finally get to your relatives. I said, okay, sounds good. And so this was at the airport. This was in New Jersey, Newark International Airport. And so I was placed at a specific location with my tiny bag, and I sat there for hours. I think we got in sometime around 4, 5 o'clock. I can't remember exactly what time it was. It just goes to show how disoriented I was. And so I sat there from that moment, say to 11 or 10 p.m. And so finally someone came up to me and said, I'm going to search your bag, but I'm also going to search you to make sure you're not carrying any weapon. I was like, okay, good. But that was a surprise to me, because if I was carrying any weapon, that would have been detected before even getting into this country. But he insisted, this gentleman, a huge guy, by the way, really, like tall and big. And so he spoke really tough, wasn't smiling at all, because I was trying to get him to smile, because I was kind of frightened to see someone this huge standing in front of me and asking me to do things. And so finally he got me to open up my bag. We went through my bag. Obviously, there was no weapon. And so anyway, so I asked, what was this all for? He said, well, we have to go through this in order to get you to your relatives, to your family members. I was like, okay, cool. They even asked me to provide a phone number, which I did. And so to actually make a long story short, from the airport, after having done fingerprint, photo taking, and all the other stuff you can think about, being interviewed multiple times, I was asked, before actually leaving my specific location, this gentleman, again, the same gentleman, came in with, like shackles and chains. And so he said, I'm going to get you ready. I'm like, what do you mean you're going to get me ready? Because he said, well, we need to transport you to wherever we have to get you. So at that point, I kind of started suspecting about what I was being told. Because initially I was told I was just going to wait there and someone was going to contact my family members and then they will come get me. But soon I saw that gentleman with the chains and handcuffs, I started thinking, there must be something going on that I'm not being told about. So anyway, they shackled me up, had me handcuffed, and asked me to follow him. And just imagine having to work in a situation like that when you're so tiny. And oh my goodness, I'm being told I have 5 minutes left. I haven't even started telling my story. Okay, so I'm going to have to rush really. So anyway, so I got to the detention center. This was at the Elizabeth Detention Center. And here again was asked to shower. It was cold. I didn't want to do it. It was an open space. Was asked to take off my clothes while other people were sitting around and shower, which I thought was really unusual for people to be looking at you while you're taking a shower. But again, I was forced to do it. So I did it, finally got into my dorm, and spent 4 months in in this detention center. First, I actually tried. I was able to get a lawyer through Human Rights First, a pro bono lawyer, but also try to get a parole so I can go out and stay with my family members. But I was refused. I was denied parole. So I spent all these months sitting in this detention center, not knowing what was going to happen. So there's this uncertainty that was weighing on me, but also the fact that I was going through something that I never went through before, being detained, being in a prison, not seeing light for 23 hours a day. We only had 1 hour of recreation, and this was an open space, but it wasn't outside. And the food as well was horrible. The guards, they were not nice at all. In fact, they were very, very disrespectful. I guess because they see you as an immigrant, they feel like they can do or tell you whatever they wanted to tell you. And so I went through that and finally got lucky enough to be granted asylum and came out And since then, have been connected. I've been working with many immigrants in New York, and also through my work, I have visited many detention centers, and I'm really saddened to see that what I went through over 10 years ago, there are still many people that are going through the same thing. And so when I hear people talk about the policy angle, how we should do this, how we should do that, I feel like, not to say people don't understand what detainees go through, but just imagine being in a situation like this. When you're fleeing war, for example, or whatever persecution you're fleeing, and coming into a place and not really being allowed to go through a system that supposedly is designed to help you. I mean, does that make any sense? I don't think it does make any sense. And again, my story, as I told you earlier, is unique. Unique in the sense, I only spent 4 months, but there were other people, and there are still people who are spending years in detention center. And also, I'm not a victim. I'm only a survivor of the situation. And so I don't want to stand here and tell you that I have suffered so much, because when I turn back and look at other people who have gone through the same system, you can't compare their lives to mine. So I feel like I'm lucky. I'm lucky to be able to stand here, tell you about my story, share my story. But at the same time, I'm also lucky to be able to go out there, speak to other people, meet other people, tell them about what so many other detainees are going through. And so I'm not going to keep talking. I know my time is almost over. And for being here, but also thank you for the work you're doing, for some of you who are involved in trying to get the system changed. Because honestly, we need to get the system changed. It's not working the way it is right now. And trust me, if we are not honest, if we're not having an honest debate about how to approach this, we're just gonna lie to ourselves, And so, once again, thank you so much for, listening to me. And also, thank you so much to Human Rights First for giving me this opportunity to be here and listening to all these wonderful people, but also meeting some great people from everywhere, across the country. And yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you.